Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today to talk a little bit more about how to recycle right here in Franklin County. Today, we're going to cover the how, the what, and the why we recycle. This information applies to you if you live in Franklin County and you have access to curbside recycling, or you take your materials to a SWACO public drop-off location. All those materials go to the same facility to be sorted and processed. Those go to the Rumpke Materials Recovery Facility. And so all these rules will apply to you. If you're outside of Franklin County, I would encourage you to check with your local solid waste district to find out more about what's accepted in your community's recycling program. My name is Amy Dunsborn, and I am SWACO's Education Specialist. Let's go ahead and get started today. A couple quick housekeeping tips for those of you who are new to the GoToWebinar platform. I know we've been using webinars and virtual platforms for well over a year and a half now, but I think a few tips can be really helpful. So if you do see the blue snowflake at the bottom of your screen, at any point in time your screen collapses, look for that blue snowflake. Click on that snowflake, and then the presentation, the slides that you see today, will reappear front and center on your computer. There's also a control panel. At the top of the control panel, there's an orange arrow. If you click on that orange arrow, the control panel will expand, and it'll give you a variety of options within that control panel. The most important features today for you, the questions and chat feature. And so if at any point in time you have a question throughout the presentation, I encourage you to drop it into that questions and chat box. I will be addressing everyone's questions at the end of the webinar today. I had a couple come in prior to this webinar via email, which was great. Thank you for sending your questions. I'll also address those at the end, but you're welcome to put them in at any point in time. As a friendly reminder, everybody is on mute throughout the duration of the webinar to help eliminate background noise. And then there's also a couple handouts that I included during today's session. One of them is the slides from today's presentation. So if you're interested in downloading those, double click on the handouts. There's two of them, and that should download directly to your desktop. There's also one from our partners at Rumpke Waste and Recycling. They recently expanded their list of plastics that they now accept to now include tubs. And so there's more information about that plastic tub expansion if you're interested in learning more about that. If for some reason you're having difficulty downloading the handouts, do not worry about it. You can always send me an email after today's session. I'll be happy to email those to you directly. My email is in your email registration, email for easy access. So before we dive into the content of today's webinar, I wanted to briefly talk about SWACO and who we are as an organization for maybe those who are this is the first time you've ever heard of us. So SWACO manages the waste stream for all of Central Ohio, all of Franklin County, that serves 41 communities and 1.3 million residents. And we strive to be the leader in sustainability in our region by offering a range of services that look to recycling materials such as regular household materials that we purchase from the grocery stores and retail stores, recycling hard to recycle materials such as electronic waste, election signs, and then pharmaceuticals. We also offer 52 public recycling drop-off locations around the community for folks who maybe don't have access to recycling. They live in an apartment complex, or maybe they're a small business and they don't have a recycling contract. And then we provide grants to communities, nonprofits, and schools to help them reduce the amount of waste they generate and recycle even more. Annually, we host about 5,000 school-age students at the landfill for landfill tours. And we also provide education on recycling and composting. If you're a teacher, if you're a Cub Scout or Girl Scout, leader. If you're a resident and you're interested in learning more about the operations of the Franklin County Sanitary Landfill, I encourage you to go to SWACO.org, navigate to the landfill tour page, and find out how you can sign up to join a landfill tour. So if you're interested in learning anything else about our programs and services, check out SWACO.org to learn more. So why are all these diversion services and programs so important? Well, as a community, residents and businesses alike, we are creating more waste every single year. Over the past several years, Central Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, has been experiencing population growth and a booming economy. As more people move to our community, more of that waste ends up in our local landfill. Annually, the Franklin County Sanitary Landfill receives about 1.1 million tons of materials. Thankfully, we do recycle or compost half of all of the waste that we generate as a community. And that beats the national average of 34%. So we have the second highest diversion rate in the Midwest, behind Minneapolis, Minnesota. So we're doing some really great work here in the community. There's always room for improvement though. So what is this? I said 1.1 million tons of material annually. What is that in terms of a daily amount? Daily, we receive about 4,000 tons of wasted materials at the landfill. And I choose the term wasted materials because a lot of what we receive, it does have value. It could have been recovered in current recycling and composting markets. So what's that equal to in terms of a something that we can familiarize or we're familiar with? So 4,000 tons is equal to the weight of about 800 African gray elephants. If you're like me and you haven't been around an elephant recently, I'm more familiar with a Toyota Prius. That's equal to about 2,600 Priuses driving into the landfill daily. In terms of trucks, this is equal to roughly 500 trucks bringing materials from our businesses and our communities in Franklin County. So you may be thinking to yourself, well, where does all of this material come from? Well, 60% of it does come from the commercial sector. So that's going to be anywhere away from your single family home. So think about your restaurants, your businesses, and your schools. We did see a shift last year during the COVID-19 pandemic. We're still in the pandemic, but we're not as severe as we were in 2020. And so we saw the commercial sector generate less waste, right? Because businesses weren't in full-scale operation. Whereas on the residential side, more waste was coming from our homes. Many of us were working from home, we were decluttering around the house, maybe we were even doing some renovations or landscaping. And so we did see an uptick in the residential waste and less from the commercial sector. It all balanced out in the end, and now we're back on track to about 60% from the commercial and resident and 40% from residential. All right, so our first poll question for the day is a little bit of trivia. What percentage of materials have the potential to be reused, recycled, or composted in the Franklin County Sanitary Landfill? I'm going to launch my poll here, and if you want to go ahead and select the answer that you think is accurate, is it going to be 50% of it could have been diverted, 65%, or 76%? Got about 50% of the votes in. I'm going to give it a few more seconds. I'm going to close the poll. We're really all over the board today. We have a mixed bunch. All right, looks like we've got just about 80% of people in. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. The majority of folks selected 65%. And it's actually 76% of the materials that we receive had the potential to be recycled, composted, or reused. So we know that we can do better than this, and we should do better. How does SWACO know this? How do we know that 76% of the material could have been recovered and diverted in another way? Well, we conducted a waste audit or a waste characterization study. Just like it sounds, we really went through and sorted out the trash to determine the different types of materials that are making up the waste stream. And the results showed that a lot of what we receive doesn't really belong in the landfill and had the potential to be diverted through reuse, recycling, or composting. So let's talk about the biggest contributors in the landfill. The biggest portion of the pie here of the landfill stream, compostable materials, 27% could have been composted. The biggest percentage out of all of the material that we receive is food scraps, 15% of the total waste stream. That's equal to about 1 million pounds of food waste that we receive daily. And so not only do we have the opportunity to rescue that food, get it into the hands of hungry members of our community, but if it's not salvageable, if it's not in good enough condition for human consumption, it can be diverted through composting. And so the Central Ohio Food Waste Initiative was developed with the goal to reduce food waste in half by 2030. And this is going to take a concerted effort with many partners across Central Ohio to tackle the issue of food waste. 40% of all the food that is ever grown and produced is wasted here in our country. It's not just an issue in Central Ohio, it's an issue nationwide. The second highest type of material that we receive, recyclable materials. And these are materials that had the potential to be recycled in current recycling markets. So this is all material that we can recycle here in Franklin County. Biggest contributor of this recyclable material category, cardboard boxes. Why do you think cardboard boxes make up so much of the waste stream? E-commerce, online shopping is becoming more and more prevalent, and more of that cardboard is taking up space in the landfill. 100% recyclable and highly sought after. It's a highly sought after commodity right now. Right now, paper mills cannot crank out the paper fast enough because they need more and more cardboard boxes for online shopping. And then we have other recoverable material, 24% of the waste stream. The category that I like to mention often is textiles. Fast fashion is certainly taking hold. It's very convenient and easy to go and buy a piece of cheap clothing. Unfortunately, that clothing has a lifespan. It can only be worn for 1-2 seasons, and it's often discarded in the trash can. As much as you can, you want to try to choose sustainable options, buy from thrift stores, buy items that are quality made that you can wear for a long time. If your clothing is past its prime, has a stain or a hole in it, you could reuse it at your house for rags. You could try to fix it and mend it. I try to sew my clothes as much as I can. I know that's not possible for everyone. And then Goodwill Industries will take torn, wholly, and/or stained fabrics for recycling. So you want to put that clothing in a bag separate from your other clothes that you want to donate for resale. And then Goodwill will recycle those through a third party that makes them into rags for mechanics. So as parents, friends, neighbors, and colleagues, you are in an important position to help make a measurable difference and lead us towards a more sustainable future. SWACO has set a goal of helping Franklin County reach a 75% diversion rate by 2032. But we can't do this alone. We need your help. So what can you do? How can you get involved? Knowing what's accepted for recycling and practicing this at home and work will help us get there. So everything that you see on the left-hand side of this slide is accepted for single stream mixed recycling in Franklin County. So if you, again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, but for friends who are a little bit late to the game, if you have access to curbside recycling in Franklin County, or you take your materials to a SWACO drop-off location, this applies to you, okay? If you have Rumpke, especially if you have Rumpke as your hauler as well. Rumpke, all these materials are going to Rumpke to be processed. If you're on the webinar today from a business, this may not apply to you. So I'm going to encourage you to reach out to us to learn more about what's accepted at your business. Depending on who your hauler is, depends on where they take the materials for processing. I know that's confusing, but we'd be happy to clarify if anyone's on the call from a business today. All right, so let's talk about the 5 materials that we can recycle in our community. We can do paper and cardboard. That includes junk mail and toilet paper rolls. You don't even need to worry about taking the plastic film off of the envelope, the junk mail envelope. Just put the whole thing in the recycling bin. Plastic bottles, jugs, and tubs. For those that weren't on the beginning of the call, Rumpke recently found a new buyer for tubs. So things like butter, yogurt, cottage cheese, sour cream, pudding cups, fruit cups. These are all accepted in the program that just started in January of 2021. We've always been able to do bottles and jugs. You want to leave the lids on the containers. Same thing with the tub. You want to leave the lids on. The rigid lid will also be recycled. All glass bottles and jars are accepted. Metal cans, even including aerosol cans. Do your best to empty them out. Remove the tip, the plastic tip. That tells the folks working at the recycling facility that you prepped the container for processing. All carton containers are accepted, whether it's a Tetra Pak or it's a gable top or it's aseptic. All of them are accepted in the program. And when we recycle, we want to make sure we keep our items loose. So let your recyclables be free. Let them breathe. We never ever want to place them in plastic bags. Plastic bags wreak havoc on the recycling equipment. They get caught in the gears and the machines and shut machines down. This is a common problem at the recycling facility. Plastic bags are 100% recyclable. Take them back to the retail store. Places like Kroger, Giant Eagle, Walmart, Meijer, Target, and Kohl's all have Bring Me Back locations for plastic bags and film. Some of the other commonly not common items that we see in the recycling stream that don't belong there. Plastic takeout food containers, whether it's a clamshell from strawberries, blueberries, or a salad, or it's a takeout food container from a restaurant, as well as foam or styrofoam containers. Those are a no-no. Tanglers, electronics, hoses, chains, wires, clothing, those are all a no-no. And then cups. At this point in time, Rumpke does not have a stable buyer for cups. This is any type of cup, whether it's a coffee cup, a styrofoam cup, a party cup, a fast food cup. All of those cups at this time are not accepted. As a general rule of thumb, we want to make sure that our containers are clean and they're empty. So we want to give them a quick rinse with water from just dirty dishwater from after we do our dishes, and then we want to place the cap back on the materials and put them in the recycling bin. So what is the deal with plastics? I briefly mentioned it earlier. I want you to understand too who's making the decision regarding what's accepted for recycling here in our community. So SWACO is your local solid waste district. We are your community resource for all things waste reduction, recycling, composting, and safe disposal. We are not the company that processes the recyclables and that finds the buyers and the end users for the recyclables. That's Rumpke Waste and Recycling. They're an awesome company. We really enjoy working with them, but they recently found a new buyer for these plastic tubs. And that program just started in January of 2021. So with new technology coming online, they found the ability to recycle this hard to recycle plastic and make it into new plastic products. And so commonly accepted items in the program You're going to see a lot of dairy containers in the grocery store: cottage cheese, yogurt, sour cream, butter, any sort of specialty dip, like a French onion dip, avocado dip, pudding cups, fruit cups. These are all going to be number 5 polypropylene tubs. If you ever have a question about a particular type of item that you have in your house, you can always email us too. You can email me. My email's in your registration email, or you can just email the general line at info@swaco.org. That email will be up on the slide here in a second. So what's not accepted in this program? Some other number 5 tubs are such as takeout food containers. So we talked about the black takeout food container, and then clamshell containers. This could be a 1, a 2, or a 5. Coffee pods are a no-no, and then cups, prescription medicine bottles, over-the-counter medicine bottles, and then nursery containers. And the real concern with the prescription medicine bottles is their size. So they're too small to get sorted. They fall through the screens and the discs at the recycling facility, and they end up on the floor, and that Rumpke can't guarantee that they're recovered. So it's better just to put them in the trash, because they're probably not going to get recovered anyways at the recycling facility. So what is the deal with the recycling symbol on your plastic containers? Many of you probably noticed that item. Maybe you've lived in a community before you moved to Columbus that used the symbols to educate folks on what's accepted in the recycling program. You don't see that happening in Columbus, though. You see us focusing on the shape of the container. We say a bottle, a jug, or a tub. And that's really Rumpke's educational messaging. Therefore, that's what we also promote awareness about. So the recycling symbol on the bottom of your plastic is really just a plastic resin identification code. It doesn't necessarily mean that that item can be recycled in your community's program. It just means that it can be recycled somewhere. It has the potential to be recycled somewhere. Now, we know that that's just not how recycling works. There needs to be stable markets. There needs to be a buyer for the material for recycling to be cost effective and to have businesses invest in recycling technology. So you can look at the bottom of the number, the bottom of your container, just to see what it is. But keep in mind, that's not how we go. That's not how we educate folks in Franklin County about recycling. So you don't have to look at the numbers, but you're always welcome to. Just know that it doesn't necessarily mean it's accepted for recycling in your program. So your efforts to recycle reduce our reliance on the local landfill, in addition to contributing to a cleaner environment. Making goods from recycled content saves energy because it prevents the mining, the transportation, and the processing of virgin materials to make each item. Each step of that process, extracting and processing virgin materials, requires energy consumption, which can all be avoided by utilizing recycled content. I always recommend to folks to try to buy items that are made from recycled materials, because this really closes the loop on the recycling process, and it ensures that there's a demand for recyclables. So as much as you can, look to buy items made out of recycled plastics, recycled paper, because then you'll be supporting the local recycling program, the local recycling economy, and you can ensure that the continuation of your recycling program here locally. So your efforts to recycle right can help reach their full potential as a new product. When materials are picked up at the curb, they are sorted and sold, processed, and turned into new items. So for example, here in Franklin County, plastic bottles and jugs will go on to become carpet, clothing, fiber fill for sleeping bags and jackets, winter coats, chairs, play sets, parts of cars, and even more plastic bottles. As I mentioned before, we're really fortunate to have Rumpke Waste and Recycling as our Central Ohio recycling processor. Rumpke sorts materials based on their shape, based on the item, and they sort them into bales up to 2,000 pounds each. These bales are then sold to end users to be manufactured into new goods. Rumpke sends 95% of all of its materials, all of its recyclable materials that we generate here in Ohio to domestic markets. And 80% of it stays right here in the Midwest. A great example of how Rumpke supports the local economy is by sending our paper products, such as mixed paper and cardboard, to Pratt Industries here in Ohio. Pratt takes our cardboard boxes and turns them into new cardboard boxes for Amazon Prime, and our mixed paper will be turned into tissue paper and toilet paper. So we all know recycling is good for the environment, but do you also know that it creates a more resilient economy? In Central Ohio, the recycling industry supports 5,000 employees, 372 businesses totaling $1.3 billion in annual revenue. Those are some hard numbers to remember. Maybe tonight when you're sitting around the dinner table with your family, you can instead share this of what you learned. For every one job in the landfill sector, there are 10 jobs in the recycling industry. So our actions help to support these businesses and jobs and reduce our reliance on natural resources. These are all things that we can be proud of. So before we open it up to your questions today, I wanted to briefly highlight a couple of very useful tools for hard to recycle items. So say you have an old propane tank, lawnmower, paint, pesticides that you know don't belong in the trash can, but you're not really sure how to exactly safely dispose of them. SWACO created a recycle search tool. It can be found at recycleright.org. On that search tool, we have over 300 locations for you to safely donate, recycle, compost, or dispose of your hard to recycle item. If you are decluttering in your house, maybe you're moving and you're downsizing, you're looking to get rid of a bunch of stuff, please don't place it in the trash can. There oftentimes is a safe way, an environmentally safe way to dispose of an item or recycle it. You just need help finding the solution. If you're on the search tool at recycleright.org, you're having a hard time finding your particular material that you'd like to divert, email us, info@swaco.org. You can also call us from 8 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. We will be happy to point you in the right direction. For all your other items that are classified as hazardous waste, SWACO operates a permanent household hazardous waste facility. This is located off of East 8th Avenue near the fairgrounds. Hours of operation are Wednesday through Friday. I always encourage you to check to make sure that they're open before you go there, since the hours are a little bit varied. Anything that would be classified as toxic, flammable, corrosive, has labeling such as use in a well-ventilated area. All of those items are classified as hazardous, and they should not be placed down your drain, and they certainly shouldn't go in your trash can. So if you've got old paints, batteries, a propane tank, motor oil, old vegetable oil that's flammable, smoke detectors, all of these items are accepted at our household hazardous waste location free of charge for Franklin County residents. If you're outside of Franklin County, I would encourage you to call ahead to see how much it may cost for you to dispose of your items at the facility. The one caveat to the program is that latex paint is charged $1 per can due to the fact that latex paint is water soluble and it can be disposed of with your regular trash once it is dried out. So if you have a bunch of old paint cans, I encourage you to get some kitty litter, some sawdust, even some paint hardener from the hardware store, and then mix it up with the paint, leave the lid off, let it dry out. Once the paint has hardened and dried out, you can put the lid back on it. You can place that in your regular trash. and then it'll go on to the landfill. It's not harmful to the landfill. It just needs to be dried out before it goes in our trash so we don't make a paint mess all over during the transportation process. If it's oil-based paint or another form of paint, spray paint, please bring it to our facility and we'll take care of it. Well, I hope this educational session leaves you feeling more prepared on how to recycle right and make a difference. These sessions are offered monthly. The next session will be offered on November 17th. That's a Wednesday at noon. I do them all at noon so folks can maybe sit down with their lunch and listen to a presentation. There'll also be one in December. All the information, the links, the times are posted on our website at SWACO.org. So I'm going to now open it up to everybody's questions. I'm going to first touch on the ones that were sent to my email prior to today's webinar, and then I will open it up to all the questions that have come in so far in the chat function. So I received a question about how much of the material that goes to the recycling facility is just classified as trash. So that is an excellent question. Ben asked that question. So about 15%, 15% of the material that makes its way to the Rumpke Material Recovery Facility is classified as contamination or trash, if you will. And so there are people working at Rumpke on the line. Materials are coming down the conveyor belt at about 25 miles per hour. And there are people hand picking out all the contaminants. So hand picking out the items that cannot be recycled in their program. So common items that we talked about before, plastic bags, clothing, chains, hoses. Sometimes people put funny things in the recycling stream, such as bowling balls, shopping carts. There's been a snake found in the recycling bin. That was probably a mistake, right? And so those items are hand picked out as fast as they can, as quickly as they can, before they continue down the conveyor belt to get caught in the equipment and delay the recycling process. So 15% for contamination rate is pretty good. We would like it to be under 10 if possible, which is why we offer educational sessions like this. And the landfill tour program, Rumpke also provides tours of their facility. If anyone's interested in gathering a group to go and learn more about the recycling facility here in Columbus, you can email me and I'll give you that contact information. I received another question from Jenny about two questions about the environmental benefits of using your garbage disposal versus putting your food scraps in the trash can. So when it comes to food waste, quick science lesson. I'll be brief. When we put organic materials in the trash can, they go to a landfill, the Franklin County Sanitary Landfill in our case, if you live in Franklin County. Landfills are designed to be anaerobic, so they're constantly covered with dirt and they're starved of oxygen and sunlight. When materials start to break down, organic materials in particular, the byproduct of the decomposition process is methane gas. Methane gas is a powerful greenhouse gas, really effective at trapping heat, contributes to climate change. Landfills are not allowed to release that methane into the air, to the atmosphere. They have to capture it. Some landfills capture their gas and they burn it off at a flare, a big flame. Other landfills will capture it and turn it into a renewable energy. At SWACO, we work with a private company to clean it up, refine it, and turn it into pipeline quality natural gas. Not all of it can be captured, however. Some of it is lost. Some of it is going to be burnt off at the flare when the energy facility is at capacity. Quick science lesson. That's what happens when we send organic material, food scraps, to the landfill. When we put food scraps down the garbage disposal, in Columbus, Ohio, all of the materials that we put down the drains, they go to the wastewater treatment plant. The wastewater treatment plant has a process to separate the solids from the wastewater. The solids are then repurposed in a variety of different ways, but most of it is fertilizer. So the solids, your food scraps, anything else that goes down the drains, I'll just let you put two and two together, are going to be repurposed. So it's either going to be repurposed as ComTill, which is a type of compost as a soil amendment, or it can be used as fertilizer for agriculture purposes. Okay, so if you're choosing between putting your food scraps in your trash can or putting them in the garbage disposal is always preferred. That's the most environmentally sound option, unless you can compost. Compost is the most environmentally sound option if you have access to a composting program. There are many, many composting services available to Central Ohio residents. I'm just going to throw out a few. Compost Exchange, Kids That Compost, Go Zero. Those are 3 companies that have a different business model. Some are really serviced and catered more towards the commercial sector. Others are more residential. You also might live in a community that has a local food waste drop-off program. There are 7 of those communities here in Central Ohio. If you want to check to see if you live in one of those communities, I would encourage you to check out SWACO.org. Go to the food waste page to learn more how you can get signed up and registered to participate in a food waste drop-off program. So that answers that question. The second question Jenny asked was about where to recycle and or donate office furniture. I have a feeling many of us are working from home. We're on a hybrid schedule at SWACO, but many companies are transitioning to fully working remotely, and they're no longer in need of their office furniture. So if you work for a company, a small business, a big business, and you're looking to find a responsible way to recycle or donate your items, I have 2 options for you today. Capital Choice Office Furniture. I would encourage you to Google Capital Choice Office Furniture. They have a retail store where they resell office furniture at a very low rate to new startups and nonprofits. They will pick up your office furniture, your cubicles, your desk, your chairs, if they're in gently used condition, for free if you have at least 30 pieces or more. And so that's an excellent option for folks who are looking to responsibly donate and or recycle their office furniture. The other option is Green Standards. They're a nationwide organization, and they donate office furniture for free to nonprofits. This is really for larger scale businesses. So small businesses, they don't really work with as much. They want it to be 1,000 employees or more. So 1,000 employees or more is Green Standards. Google that. Smaller companies local to Columbus, you can look up Capital Choice Office Furniture. Those are your options today. All right, so now I'm going to start going through the questions that came in today during the webinar. Just to clarify, is it okay to place paper for recycling into a paper grocery bag? Yes, Linda, that's an excellent question. You can place all your recyclables in a paper grocery bag because paper grocery bags are also recyclable. What you don't want to do is place shredded paper in a paper grocery bag. So if you shred your sensitive documents at your house, the only way Rumpke can process the shredded paper for recycling is if it is in a clear plastic bag. And you heard me say earlier, no to plastic bags. This is the only time that Rumpke will accept a plastic bag. And that's because they want to see through to the contents to ensure that inside your bag is just clean shredded paper. They will physically remove the shredded paper bag off of the conveyor belt and then take it over, walk it over to the paper line, open the bag, make sure all the contents of the shredded paper get mixed in with all the other paper, and then discard the plastic bag. Remember, plastic bags can't go through their equipment. They get caught around the gears and the sorting equipment, and they wreak havoc on the machines. They just shut them down. Only time that you can place a bag is with shredded paper on the inside. Only shredded paper. Don't mix it. Don't put any plastic, cans, just shredded paper. If you're a composter, you can also compost your shredded paper. That is what I do with mine. I put it in small amounts, incorporate it into my compost. It's a decent source of carbon, and then I don't have to deal with the plastic bag at all in my recycling bin. Jerry asked a question about are there tours of recycling facilities? I think I addressed that. There are. Rumpke provides tours on Tuesdays to anyone that's interested. They're free. They are booked out several months in advance, and they do not accept tours. They do not offer tours November through February. Jerry, if you, I can email you after this tour, this webinar, and I will send you the contact information for how you can get signed up to tour the facility. I'm making myself a note here so I don't forget, because I will. Are ice cream cartons recyclable? No, they are not recyclable. They have a very thin plastic film on the inside of them, similar to that paper coffee cup. That's what keeps the ice cream from transferring and moving through the paper and making the paper really mushy. It's very difficult for the paper mills to process and remove that thin plastic lining from the actual paper product. So throw those ice cream cartons and those paper coffee cups in the trash. Are plastic bags and shrink plastic the same? Yes, they are. So the rule of thumb when it comes to plastic film, this is an excellent question, by the way. Plastic film, if it's stretchable, you can put your thumb through it and it stretches and bends, it is accepted at the plastic film locations at the retail stores. So this is a lot of stuff. This is bread bags, cereal bags, the wrapping that comes around toilet paper and paper towel rolls, those Amazon air bubblers, pop the air bubblers, bubble wrap, the white Amazon bags that have the blue prints on them, they say, take me back to the retail store, those are also included. Anything that is a stretchable plastic film, produce bags, the bags that you get your newspaper in, dry cleaner bags. Make sure that material is clean and dry. Please don't place your produce bags in it with wet kale. They want it to be clean and dry. That's the only way that they can ensure they can process it and make it into new products. Sharps and needles, does that go in the trash or is that hazardous waste? So the hazardous waste facility does not accept sharps and needles. If you are diabetic or you have another condition that requires you to provide shots to yourself, you can place them in the trash as long as they're in a durable, puncture resistant container. So you could save a detergent container and put them in there. You could save a sharps container and put them in there, whatever you have. There are also options for you to take them to the Franklin County Board of Health. They have a drop-off program there. And then we are hosting, well, it's not us, we are promoting a DEA prescription drug take-back day on October 23rd. If you want to learn more about that, please check out our website, SWACO.org. There's going to be about 15 different participating locations, including many Krogers across Central Ohio. I believe a couple of those locations will take needles and sharps. I can't remember exactly which ones off the top of my head, but luckily our website tells you which ones take them. So that event is going to be taking place on October 23rd from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Another question came in about plastic mailers from USPS or Amazon. Do the paper labels have to be cut off? Do they go in the supermarket plastic drop-off? That's a really good question. So they do not have to be cut off. They can stay on. And then they will be sorted out when all the material is broken down, anything that's not plastic film will rise to the top, and they'll be able to skim that material off to discard it. So you do not need to worry about taking off any of the labels. The same thing goes with your cardboard boxes and your plastic containers. You don't need to worry about removing labels anymore. The recycling technology is sophisticated enough that it can separate the labels and the non-fibrous or non-plastic materials, so it doesn't contaminate the stream. Doorknob bags with lots of paper. Can you toss the whole thing into the recycling bin, or do you have to take the paper out of the bag? I'm not sure I know what that means, Jerry. If you could provide me with a little bit of clarification, what's a doorknob bag? with lots of paper. I'm not sure what that is. So maybe if you could just type in the chat what you mean by a doorknob bag, that'll help me figure out what you're asking. Yeah, sticky labels are not recyclable. You're correct. You do not want to put sticky labels in the recycling bin. So the rule of thumb is if the paper is tearable, it can be recycled. So you know, that's like paper egg cartons, that's a lot of junk mail, but it's not the paper that's laminated. So that lately I've been getting this junk mail. I don't know if you have to, where it's got this plastic coating on top of the paper almost. And it's not quite a laminate. I don't know what it is, but I can't tear it because it's plastic. It's a mixed plastic paper material, and so that would not be recyclable. So if you could tear the paper, you can recycle it. If a plastic bag is not stretchable, where does it go? In the trash can. So I can think of a couple of examples of plastic bags that aren't stretchable. So if you buy grapes, or if you buy lemons or limes, they come in this sort of crunchy, it's still, you know, it's somewhat flexible, but it's not flexible in the way that you put your thumb through it and it bends. Currently, there isn't a market for that type of plastic. It's not the same type of plastic as plastic film, and so that would need to go in your regular trash. And as a general rule of thumb, when in doubt, throw it out. So if you want to send us an email or you want to call us to confirm, we're happy to assist you. Don't have time, when in doubt, throw it out. That's going to help save costs at the recycling facility, and it's going to also keep recycling costs low for our community. Oh yes, thank you. Doorknob bag. When a neighborhood newspaper or supermarket ads have been placed in the front door are dropped at the front porch. Yes, thank you. Those are accepted in the program and at the Bring Me Back locations. So you could take that plastic bag, make sure it's clean, so and dry. So sometimes I'll put mine by the vent, so to let the air kind of, you know, roll over it and dry it out. And then once it's dry, I then put it underneath my sink and we collect them. Once we have a big enough volume, I'll take it down to my local Giant Eagle store, and then I'll recycle all those plastic films. So yes, that is accepted. Thank you for clarifying. All right, I think I've addressed everyone's questions. I want to thank you so much for your attention and for your awesome questions and your time today. I hope each one of you feel inspired to continue to recycle right and make a difference. Just a quick friendly reminder, there will be another session where we offer these monthly, usually the third Wednesday of the month at noon during lunch hours, so you can sit down, have your lunch, have your cup of coffee, whatever it may be, and join the conversation. That will be on November 17th at noon. If you're interested in signing up, please go to SWACO.org to register. So afterwards, you will receive a short survey. It's about 6 questions, I believe. We are always interested in hearing your feedback, thoughts for improvements, ideas for future educational sessions that you'd like to learn more about. We just really appreciate any feedback that you have, good or bad, so we can continue to grow as an organization. So thank you so much. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Wednesday. Take care. Bye-bye.